and Design. Today is the fourth lecture, and we are going to study or to continue talking about how to report, how to write up a piece of research. Today we are going to talk about introduction, how to write the introduction. Introduction is always the first chapter, the first section in your research. You always have this little introduction about your research. We are going to see the structure of the introduction, what consists of, and other stuffs. So before we talk about introduction, it's very important to know how to choose a topic. Say that you want to do a research next semester, or when you want to do your master degree or your PhD degree, you want to choose a topic. How? There are different ways to help you choose a topic, and we are going to have them in a minute. Research is to demonstrate not only research expertise in the relevant field, but an appropriate level of originality. One way to achieve this is by a piece of work which applies existing ideas, previous findings, theories, research methods to a new domain, provides a competent analysis of a new data in terms of an existing theory or approach. What does all this sophisticated, complicated words mean? Well, it means that if you want to choose a topic, go to previous research, see where that research stopped, and continue from that research. Say that I researched at King Faisal University the good and bad practices of English language teachers. And I said, well, these are the good practices and these are the bad practices, and that's it. That was my research. You can continue my research by saying, well, I will have all of these bad practices and find solutions to them. And that's it. That's your research. Someone else can continue my research and your research to develop the research by having the good practices, how to spread all of these good practices among English language teachers, besides finding more solutions to avoid bad practices. So it is like an accumulative type of knowledge. It's accumulating from one piece of research to another. So this is one way to find a topic, and the best way is when you read an article or a dissertation or a thesis, there is a section at the end of that research called recommendations for further research. Usually researchers try to spark some ideas for new research. You can pick up from these researches and you can refer to them. We're saying, well, let's say Mr. Cooper recommended that this topic is research, so I want to follow up that research. So one way to find a topic is by going to previous research, previous theories. We have a theory. I'm sure that you have studied different theories. You have that theory, and you try to apply it to a new piece of research, to a new domain. Well, that theory was researched in terms of psycholinguistics, things that have to deal with mind and processing, learning. But no, I want to apply that theory to a different domain, to sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics, how people interact with society and people. So this is one way to find a topic. And we have here the word original. Original means something very new. No one before you have researched that topic. But what does that mean? It does not mean that you are going to create a new word or you are going to change the word. No. Sometimes being original is by finding a different way to do it. Other people's researched, for example, English language teachers in a way, but you are going to research it in a different way. They use, for example, questionnaires, interviews, but no, you are going to use, for example, observations. You are going to find new ways to research that. This is originality. Does not mean that you are going to choose something very, very different from others. No. Sometimes being original in your research means sometimes a little difference from other. So we said we are going to use existing data or ideas through previous findings, theories, research methods to a new domain, to a new context. Another way here is number 2. It's number 1. Another way is by a piece of work which proposes a new novel theoretical account of novel data, a goal all academics strive for but few attain. What does that mean? This is harder than before. Another way is trying to find something novel, something very, very new. No one researched that before, and you want to have this groundbreaking topic to attain or to find new data and new findings. This is viable and doable, but you need to find that novel or new topic. Clearly, your chosen topic should be one which excites and stimulates your intellectual curiosity and which is going to retain your interest throughout the period you work on it. This is very, very important. It should be interesting to you. It should excite you throughout your research. Sometimes doing research can take from you 4, 5 years. It should be interesting throughout the period of your work. Sometimes in the middle of your research or at the end of your research, you are going to curse yourself. Why I chose that topic? This is very dull topic. This is very hard topic. No. Try to choose a topic that stimulates your intellectual ability, that excites you, that's very interesting to you, so you can do it from A to Z. No in the middle, no claims, no cursing to yourself or cursing to your topic. So be careful in choosing your topic. It may also be a topic which has some direct relevance to your future career, aspirations, or special importance in the context where you normally work. Well, this is one way. You want to research something related to your future career or your current job. Let's say that you want to improve the profession or job practices in your company or in your work. So you chose that topic. As I said, the example before, English language teachers. Probably if you are a teacher, an English language teacher, you want to improve your teaching practices, or you want to improve the teaching practices in your school. So this is one way to choose a topic. It should be a topic which you personally feel confident that you are able to master within the time available for your research. This is another important issue, which is ability. Here, the word able. you should be able to master your research within the time. Let's say that next semester you are going to do, you are required to produce a research within 2 or 3 months. You need to choose a topic that's doable within 2 or 3 months. Do not choose a very wide topic that cannot be done in 2 or 3 years. So this is very important. For this reason, it is important not to be too wide ranging in your choice of topic. On the contrary, there are a number of reasons for focusing your research as narrowly as possible on a topic which is highly circumscribed and specific. One reason for this is that the existing research literature is growing at such a rapid pace that is no longer possible to keep up with the whole of the literature in a broad field, so that narrowing down your research topic reduces your background reading to much more manageable proportions. Yes. So what does that mean? You need to narrow down your topic. Let's say that you want to, again, to the example, the good and bad practices of English language teachers. This is very broad. How about you list all the good practices and you pick up just one criteria. Let's say that from the good practices you have teachers who practice feedbacking. Feedback, when they give their students assignments or homework, they give them feedback in different ways. So you want to research only that good practice, which is giving feedback to students. This is narrowing down. Instead of researching the all the good practices, you just pick up one good characteristic from the English language, from the good English language teachers. So this is very important. Why? Because this will help you to manage all the data. If you want to research all the good practices, you need to read all the literature, all the previous studies about all the good practices. And maybe you are going to read about teaching frameworks, teaching models. So this is going to scatter all your research into maybe meaningless sections. But if you focus, narrow down your topic into a very specific topic, that's going to do the trick. Secondly, the broader the topic you choose, the more open-ended your research becomes. Yes. If it is very broad, it's going to be endless. It's going to be open-ended. You will find it very hard to close it or to reach conclusions. And the less likely it is that you will complete it on time. So putting yourself under unnecessarily financial, emotional, and intellectual pressure. So you can avoid all of these kinds of pressures: financial, time pressure, intellectual pressures. Why? Because you don't want to waste all your resources just because your topic was very poor. From this point of view, language acquisition by bilinguals is far too broad to be viable as a research topic. By contrast, a case study of the development of personal pronouns in the grammar of a 2-year-old bilingual child is a much more restricted and hence more manageable research topic. Yes, so if you say, well, the acquisition of bilinguals, this is very and too broad topic. Try to narrow it down into the acquisition of articles or pronouns, and that's not enough. You can narrow it down to grammar and to a case study of a 2-year-old bilingual child. So you see, we narrowed down the topic of acquiring or language acquisition of bilinguals into, we specify the acquisition of pronouns, and we specified grammar, and we specified the type of learners, children, bilingual children, and that's not only, we specified the age of these children, 2-year old children, and we also specified the type of research, a case study. So you see 4 different ways to specify your research. For models, we stopped, yes. Note that the weight accorded to the different component can vary by discipline. For models, try to find abstracts of research that is similar to your research, and this is the point that we mentioned last time. Try to find abstracts similar to your research, and this is one way, one guide to choose a topic. Now let's talk about introduction chapter. It talks about what the topic is in brief. You need to tell us the topic. Let's go back to the language acquisition example. You give us that, well, I want to research 2-year-old children acquisition of pronouns while studying grammar, blah, 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 and you give us the a little introduction about the topic. This is in red means no, don't do this. You start telling us a lot of detail about the method and your results at this point. No, this is not the point where you tell us about your methods. Tell us about your topic. We are talking about introduction. Detailed research questions and hypotheses, premature to give them here, yes. Some people would say, well, I want to tell my readers about my research questions and hypotheses from the beginning. No. Leave them at least until the end of your introduction. Reasons for doing the work, yes. After you tell us what the topic is, you give us reasons for doing this research. I want to do this research because blah, 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 blah. You give us very good reasons from your experience, expertise, or from the literature. You go back to previous studies and tell us the significance of doing this research. Importance as a research topic in itself. You tell us about the importance of the research topic and the importance of the research in the context of your research. Let's say that, well, I want to do this research because it is very important to my context, to the wider context, Saudi Arabia, or to a smaller context, to my school, for example, or to my workplace. This entails saying a bit about what general areas of ELT, linguistics, or whatever the study relates to. Yes, at this point, you tell us, for example, this language acquisition research is related to language acquisition and psycholinguistics, or it relates to X hypothesis or theory. You tell us about the importance, as I said, for your local situation of research. If you are a teacher, this entails possibly a detailed description of what the situation or context is. So let's say that you want to do the language acquisition course, the language acquisition research in your school. So it is a good idea that you tell us about your school. You describe your school, the teaching methods in your school, the system in your school, so the reader can follow you when he reads your research. So if your study is on writing, then how that is taught throughout the educational system in Saudi Arabia or in your context. In our previous example, the language acquisition example about grammar, you can tell us about how grammar is taught in your school, or in a wider context in Saudi Arabia, or in a given context. Again, in red, this is not good to do at all. the research is presented as having interest only for the researchers, school, country. Classical research needs to be presented as having wider implications. And be careful. Yes, we said you need to tell us about your context, your school, but remember that your research would have wider implications. Different people from around the world will read your research, and they want to benefit from your research, from Japan, from America, from Australia, from different parts of the world. They want to benefit from your research and apply your findings to their context. So don't say, well, this research is very important only to my school or only to Saudi Arabia. Well, say, well, it is important to my context, but I would expect that these would have wider implications. A long account of problems of teaching in my country, none of which turn out to be the subject of your research. Let's go back to the example of language acquisition. You tell us about the teaching context in your school or in your context, and then you talk about all the problems in teachings. Teachers are not qualified, teachers don't have equipment, they don't have facilities, blah, blah, blah. But all of these problems have nothing to do with language acquisition. You can mention all of these problems in one line or two lines only as just one source of probably not helping children to learn pronouns or grammar. But do not talk more than one or two lines. Some would write hundreds of pages of these problems, and then when we reach the end of the research, we get shocked. We get shocked. This has nothing to do with the topic itself. Unfounded generalizations with no sources, like standards of English have become poor in recent years. Well, yes, avoid these general statements unless you have proofs of them. Multiple sections with titles like importance of the study, significance of the study, which are really not different, which not differentiate in content, which are not different in content. Why? Because the importance of the study and significance of the study, they are almost the same. A good section in your introduction chapter is an outline of what will come in the chapter sections that follow. So at the end of your introduction, have a section, say, well, in chapter 2 we will talk about blah, blah, blah. In chapter 3 we will talk about blah, blah, blah. All an account of all the chapters. Maybe brief definitions of some key terms to be used later. Let's say that you are going to use some hard or difficult terminology. Let's say that you are going to use the word language attrition. You need to define the word attrition. Attrition is a sophisticated word for forgetting, language forgetting. When you forget some pieces of language, it's called attrition. So it's good to have a section of definitions of the difficult terms. So these are the components. It's not a component of an abstract, it's a component of the introduction. We are continuing the components of a good introduction. You go for it is really an introduction, missing out what the results were. No, sorry, this is a comparison of the introduction and the abstract bit. So in the abstract, you don't give an introduction. So in the introduction, you start to do the introduction and the components that we talked about. This is just to make you aware that there is a difference between abstract and introduction. We mentioned this slide in lecture number 3. So here is the example of an abstract. This is just to make you aware of the difference between an abstract and an introduction. Abstract is just one page, an introduction could be more than one page. This is it about the introduction chapter. We will talk next time about plagiarism. See you and all the best. Thank you very much.